So this lesson is all about using your context clues. Let's take a look at that standard, that RL.8.4. Determine the meaning of words and phrases as they are used in a text, including figurative and connotative meanings. Analyze the impact of specific word choices on meaning and tone, including analogies or allusions to other texts. There are so many different layers to this standard. So we have the straight up just determining the meaning of words as they're used. We have figurative and connotative meanings. We have word choice. We have analogies. We have allusions. All of these things are specific skills and reading tools that we can study separately. But for now, for today, you're just going to learn about some general rules for using your context clues. So what are context clues? When authors write, they often include clues to the meaning of words they use, but think some of their readers might not know. The context clue is usually presented in the sentence or the paragraph in which the word occurs. Sometimes a visual such as a picture is provided. Why should you care? Why do you need to use your context clues? Why is this an important skill to have? First of all, it saves you time. It saves you time even in this great day and age where you have an iPad and you can just highlight a word and look it up. It's still quicker to be able to look at a word, quickly think about how it's used and the other words that are around it, and just make an educated guess about what it means. Taking tests. You're not allowed to use dictionaries or other resources most of the time when you're taking a test, so this skill comes in great handy. And then think about, there's certain situations, even though you shouldn't be embarrassed when you don't know the answer to something, it's natural to have that little embarrassment. So being able to use your context clues can help you out in situations where maybe you have to read something, or maybe even your boss tells you something and you have to kind of read between the lines, use those context clues and figure out what they're talking about. Before we get started on looking at the different types of context clues, I want to be very clear that using this skill is not a foolproof plan. It is not going to get you the exact definition 100% of the time. What it will do, though, is get you in the ballpark. It will get you the right idea. It'll get you on track. You should be pretty close. And especially if you're taking the M step or something and you have a multiple choice question, using your context clues can most likely get you the right answer. So the first type is a definition context clue. This is where the author includes a definition to help the reader understand the meaning of a word. So we're going to read a little passage, and you're going to try and figure out what the meaning of the word tainted is. The people of the town were warned not to eat the tainted fish. The local newspaper published a bulletin in which readers were clearly told that eating a fish that had a disease could be very dangerous. This was especially true for fish caught in Lake Jean. So here's the word. What do you think that means? If you take a look through here, you'll see a definition that the author gives you. So they were warned not to eat the tainted fish. And then the local newspaper published a bulletin. Readers were clearly told that eating fish that had a disease could be very dangerous. So the word tainted doesn't actually have anything to do with fish. The definition has nothing to do with fish. It is an adjective to describe the fish. In this case, we find out that being tainted is something to do with having a disease. Sometimes authors also include synonyms. Synonyms, as you know, are words that have a similar or the same meaning as another word. So in this example, we're going to try to figure out the word compassion. After seeing the picture of the starving children, we all felt compassion or pity for their suffering. What does compassion mean? I think it's pretty easy here to figure out that the synonym for compassion is pity in this example. On the flip side here, we also have antonym context clues. Sometimes authors will include a word that is the opposite of the word that you are trying to figure out. So in this example, we're going to try to figure out the word reluctant. Joe was reluctant to take on the position of captain of the basketball team. He was afraid that the time it would take would hurt his grades. On the other hand, Billy was eager for the chance to be captain. He thought that being the captain of the team would make him very popular in school. So here's the word we're trying to figure out. There's reluctant. What do you think it means? The first thing we're going to want to do when we're looking for an antonym is we're looking for those key words. The key word here is, or the key phrase in this case, is on the other hand. So we have Joe was reluctant. On the other hand, Billy was eager. So we know that whatever reluctant means, it's the opposite of eager. So we can see here, if we're still not maybe sure of what eager means, then we can take a look at the other support that goes with it. So Joe was afraid that the time would hurt his grades, but Billy thought it would make him popular. So eager must be something he's looking forward to, or he's happy or excited about. I would say a good meaning for reluctant would be hesitant or unsure. We also have descriptions, which is similar to definitions. It's just another way to look at it when you're trying to figure out what a word means. So here we're looking for the word charismatic. John Fitzgerald Kennedy, our 35th president, improved human rights and equal rights for all people. He was a very charismatic person. People were attracted to his charm and enthusiasm. His personality was described as magnetic. So here's our word, charismatic. And then it's followed by a list of descriptions. So people were attracted to his charm, his enthusiasm, a magnetic personality. Okay, those are all descriptions that go with charismatic. So we can deduce that the word charismatic is charming or enthusiastic or somebody that has a magnetic personality. Another context clue type we have are visuals. Sometimes we need more than just the words on the page to help us figure out what a word means. So sometimes it's a picture, a drawing, a chart, a graph, or some other type of visual that's going to help the reader figure out the meaning of a word. So we're going to look for the word exultant here and figure out what it means. Peggy had an exultant look on her face. What do you think exultant means? Okay, so exultant. She's obviously just thrilled. She's ecstatic. Any of those things anything that's a synonym for happy would be a great guess for the meaning of exultant. The last one we're going to talk about actually has a couple of examples because using word parts is probably the number one way to figure out what a word means if you don't know it. So we're going to look at the different parts of a word, like prefixes, suffixes, root words, and then recognizing it's part of speech. You probably don't even realize that you do that all the time. Look at how a word is used. Is it used as an adjective? Is it a noun? Is it a verb? Figuring out how a word is used, you can figure out pretty quickly what it means. It can help you out quite a bit. And then there's that word again, that connotation. So that's something else we're going to be talking about soon. So we have two passages here. The first one we're going to try to figure out pentathlon, and the second one is insurmountable. Zach was good at many sports. He excelled in swimming, running, horsemanship, fencing, and target shooting. He decided to compete in the pentathlon rather than having to choose one of the events. What do you think the word pentathlon means? Okay, so you can take a look at pentathlon, And the first thing that we can do is we can break it up. We've got the prefix penta, which, if you think about math, we know that a pentagon is a shape that has 5 sides. And then you also have things like, like a marathon or a decathlon or a triathlon. We know that those are kind of like competitions or sporting events. And so we can kind of deduce that a pentathlon would be a contest that includes 5 events. And if you want to check your work here, you can look at swimming, running, horsemanship, fencing, and target shooting. He's got 5 events there. The last one we'll talk about is insurmountable. So the pile of work before Grant was insurmountable because there wasn't enough time to get it all done. So again, we can look at the prefixes. We've got a prefix in. Something is insurmountable. It's being used as an adjective here. So this is describing the pile of work. We can also try to look at this root word here in the middle, mount. That makes me think of like a mountain, or you are climbing on something. So the prefix in means not. So when I look at insurmountable, if I break it down, I'm thinking like not able to climb or like accomplish. So the pile of work before Grant was not able to be accomplished or not able to be completed because there wasn't enough time to get it all done. Lots to think about with context clues. I know I've mentioned this before, but context clues, in my opinion, is one of the most useful reading skills that you can have. So we are going to be spending a little bit of time working on this and continuing to break down the other parts of the standard. So here's a brief overview for you, and I look forward to working more with this in class.